Hello Champagne Dreamers, welcome back to my channel. I'm your girl, Miss J. And this is just a fun little bonus video. I already filmed my intro video and I will link it up above in the cards or I'll link it down below. I'm still figuring out how all of that works, but I wanted to film just a little bonus video to go along with that because I told you a little bit about me and I told you a little bit about the channel, but this is a fun tag video. I love tags, and so I thought, why not do a tag that tells you a little bit more about me and some little trivia and some facts. I also switched out my wig, so now I'm wearing this wig that on the wig head looks like Marilyn Monroe. On me, it looks a little bit like I'm not a regular mom, I'm a cool mom. So this is the About Me tag, and I actually watched this recently by a smaller YouTuber called Glam by Shan. So she's the inspiration for this video. She mentioned in her video that she thought it was Kathleen Lights who did it several years ago. I didn't go look that up. I don't really watch Kathleen Lights. She didn't inspire this video. I know people are all about like giving credit or whatever, so I'm telling you that there may be a Kathleen Lights version of this video out there, but I haven't watched it. It didn't inspire me. So she may have done this first, or maybe she's just the person that Glam by Shan saw it. I don't know. Let me live. So we're going to go through a series of 24 questions and just find out a little bit more about your mysterious hostess with the mostest. Question number 1 is, do you have a middle name? Well, of course, this is my stage name, Janessa J. Champagne, but my middle name is Jay, J-A-Y-E, and there's a whole long story that maybe I'll tell in another video if people even give a shit, of how I came up with my whole drag name. But my middle name, Jay, it was inspired by a couple of things, because I wanted a middle name. I liked the idea that it was something that was a name, but it also sounded like an initial. Which it turns out when you're registering domain names is kind of a pain in the ass, because if people only type in Janessa and then the letter J, they don't find your website. So I wasn't necessarily thinking that through. But J is J-A-Y-E, and the two sort of inspirations for that are Lady J. So if anybody remembers, I'm an 80s kid, and so the old G.I. Joe cartoon. There weren't very many female characters in the G.I. Joe cartoon. There was like Scarlet and CoverGirl, and they were all in the little tight spandexy suits and had the flowing hair or whatever. And then there was Lady J. And Lady J was like the prototypical lesbian. She was fantastic. She had this baggy green jumpsuit, she had super short brown hair, and she usually wore like this military cap. And she was super butch. And I even remember there being one episode where she had to go undercover as a model. And it was all about how uncomfortable she was with like super girly things. And so she just, as I look back on it, I was like, I think she was a way to like introduce children to the fact that there are lesbians in the world. And I loved that. So I wanted that energy. And also Jay Davidson, who was an actor who played the character of Dill in The Crying Game. So a lot of people know The Crying Game. It's really got an interesting place in cinema history in terms of queer representation. There certainly are some problems with it if you think about the changing and evolving representation of trans people in film and how people who digress from traditional gender boundaries are portrayed. But that really was sort of an innovative role at the time. As problematic as it may be. And the actor who played it was Jay Richardson. And both Lady J and Jay... Sorry, I said Richardson. Davidson. Both of those J's spelled it J-A-Y-E. Question number 2 is, what was your favorite subject in school? I was always a book kid. I loved reading. I grew up reading the Fear Street books. All you kids who grew up on Goosebumps, you don't even know. Before Goosebumps, R.L. Stine wrote a series called Fear Street, which was wonderful. It was like these young adult books where it was always these teenagers who were getting chased down and like crazy murderers. And what I loved about it is they were always like, sometimes they would be like supernatural explanations and there would really be a ghost, and sometimes it was just the creepy neighbor. I loved English. I was always a reader. I was always a book person. And I loved it so much that I actually went to college and also just kept taking English classes. I thought I was going to be a psychology major. I thought that I was going to be like a psychiatrist or a therapist. And then I decided I didn't really love that. And so I had switched over to sociology. And then I took a theory class, a sociology theory class, and I didn't love it. I was like, is this really what I want to do? And I was like, but you've been in college for 3 years. You should think about what you're actually going to decide on. And I looked at my transcript, and I had like 9 credits of sociology, like 12 credits of psychology, and I think I had 40 credits of English. So I was like, clearly I've been an English major this whole time. I was just taking them as electives for fun, and so I was like, this is clearly what you want to do. And then I actually went on to get a master's degree in English, also from the University of North Dakota. Question number 3 is, what is your favorite drink? So for non-alcoholic drinks, as long as it's 0 calorie and it has caffeine, just keep the caffeine going. I'm a little bit of a caffeine addict, but my favorites are, I love Mellow Yellow Zero, and I definitely have a very strict hierarchy of the 0 calorie colas, and so at the very bottom is just original Diet Coke. Ugh, that's ditch water, gross. And then Diet Pepsi is on top of that, and Coke Zero is on top of that, and then Pepsi Zero is on top of that. So, like, it's a very firm hierarchy. Although then they have all those different flavors, and I generally like the flavored ones, except this is maybe a little bit strange about me. I love Coke Zero with cherry. I love Coke Zero with vanilla. But the Coke Zero with cherry and vanilla is trash. I don't know why. In terms of alcoholic drinks, it really depends on what my eventual plan is. So what do I want the night to become? I want to be a complete and utter mess, and if I want to make some mistakes, if I set off in the night, like, let's do this. Let's make sure that we make bad decisions and don't remember it in the morning. I love a Long Island tea. Long Island tea is my troublemaker drink. And but if I just want to have a good time, I'm having a couple cocktails with friends or out at a bar, back when we used to be able to go to bars. Anything fruity. I love fruity cocktails. I love fruity rums and vodkas. Anything fruity that doesn't have tequila. That's a story for another day, but tequila hurts my heart. Favorite song of the moment. One thing you'll find out about me is I don't like limiting myself to one. So if I was thinking about what's playing most on rotation in my office, I really love, especially if I had to pick one, it would be Raisin Hell by Kesha. I absolutely love Kesha. I feel like she is my soul twin. I absolutely adore her. I love her music. I love the evolution of her performance and her style, and just her story, I think, is so powerful. Hashtag free Kesha. And I just think that she's wonderful, and I'm so glad that she's creating these, like, powerful songs. Like, when Praying dropped, like, that was the song heard around the world. Like, that was such a good, and she hit that high note, and people lost their goddamn minds. Like, so good. And then you had to wonder, so then Praying came out, and it was wonderful, and it was amazing, but also Kesha, the party girl, she puts out this powerful ballad. People were like, has she lost her edge? And then she came out with, I'm a motherfucking woman. And it's like, okay, she's still here. She's still here. So I love that on her new album, the first single was Raising Hell. And it's just that video where she's playing an 80s televangelist. I love it. It's so good. Who else? Ingrid Michaelson's Stranger Songs, based on Stranger Things, is fantastic. Regina Spektor is always good. If I want to go old school, I love some Tori Amos. I don't listen to a lot of dude singers just because I'm not into dude bros or whatever, but Bear's Den is kind of my exception to that. They're a little bit folksy, but it's still a little bit poppy. So question number 5, just to get the heteronormativity out of the way, is what would you name your kids? First of all, kids are gross. I don't want to have kids. I don't even particularly like kids. But I did have a time in my life where I was, like, entertaining the idea. I was like, what if I end up with somebody who wants kids? I can maybe handle it. And of course, in my version of reality, the stubborn Capricorn that I am, I was like, well, if I'm going to have to raise children, I get to name them. And so I thought, I like old lady names. I like things like Evelyn is a name that I love. I love that name. My grandma's name is Darlene. I love that. Like, just things that are kind of out of fashion maybe a little bit. But the 2 names that I really loved, that I thought I could handle having 2 little girls, and they would be named Glynis and Grayson. Grayson. And people who are a little bit more, now you see Grayson more often with boys, like the Dolan twins, or anybody, oh God, what was that show? Drop Dead Diva, the main male character on that is named Grayson. But for me, I am a huge Dark Shadows fan, and anybody who remembers Dr. Julia Hoffman from the original Dark Shadows was played by a fantastic actress, Grayson Hall. So I would name her after Grayson Hall. And then Glynis would be the other name for the other little girl. Question number 6 is, do you play any sports? Well, I do own quite a few jock straps. Let's say yes. Question number 7 is favorite book. My favorite book is Paradise by Toni Morrison. I love Toni Morrison. Rest in peace. That was so sad when she passed away. I think that Beloved is a better book in terms of literature and in terms of the story of America. If you want to better understand why we're in the really effed up place that we are with race relations and, you know, just the history of white supremacy in this country, and you prefer reading sort of fictionalized accounts, it's based on a story of a woman who was a slave who escaped, and she had her children with her, and she actually killed, I don't know if she killed all of her children or killed one of her children. She decided it was better to kill her child than to let her child grow up in slavery. So it's really powerful. There's a book about that case that inspired Beloved called Modern Medea. But Beloved is really a wonderful book that is really about the story of America and the ugly history underpinning everything about America. So I think that's a better book in terms of literature and in terms of what it's speaking about, but Paradise is my favorite book. I also really love The Wicked Cycle by Gregory Maguire. Wicked, of course, is the best of the group, but all 4 of the books are really fantastic. Is there 4? 3. 3, 4, 5? I think it's 4. Question number 8, favorite color. Green. Green, 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 green all day long. I love all kinds of greens. I am obsessed with green. I love it. There's so much green makeup in my collection. Anytime a new release comes out, if there's a green eyeshadow, lip product, whatever it is, I'm probably going to end up with it. I love green. Question number 9 is favorite animal. Now, if you're talking about animals that are pets, I love cats. I'm a cat person. I don't mind dogs. Sometimes I like the idea of like a big Saint Bernard to just like take naps with. Like, I just think a big, fluffy, sweet dog like that would be wonderful to just like curl up and just have a little like afternoon nap with. But in terms of like being around them all the time, I love cats. I don't currently have any pets. I live in a place where I can't have pets, although I've lived there for a long time and I know my landlord, and so I've thought about maybe broaching the subject. I used to travel way too much for work to have pets. It just wouldn't have been fair because I was, for quite a while I was gone about half the year or more traveling, so but now I'm in a place where I'm a little more settled, so maybe we have to revisit the cats. If we're talking about exotic animals, there are 2 that I really love. I love giraffes because they're weird and they're oddly shaped, but they're just living their best lives with their long necks and their little nubbins on their head and their fabulous print that they just wear all the time. They don't care about things going in and out of style. They're just fabulous. And I love pandas. And I know that pandas are sort of aggressive and mean, but they're another one that I just want to take a nap with. I just want, like, I don't want to control animals. I don't want to put them on display like in circuses and zoos. I just want to nap with them. All right, question number 10 is favorite perfume, and I bet we're going to get a little bit of commentary from Angie in the back. Yeah. Well, my absolute favorite, number 1, is Addict by Dior. That is my favorite. I love it because it smells like nothing else in the world. Do you know how some of those things just smell like everything else? So like for a while, Paris Hilton put out that first scent that she did, and Britney Spears was putting out the scents, and they all just smelled like sugar, cotton candy, vomit. Like it was just sweet and cloying and sugary, but they all kind of smelled the same. And then like, you know how sometimes there's like the woods fragrance, and maybe they add like a little bit or they take away a little bit, or it's like slightly different other undertones, but it's like woodsy, water, sunshine, whatever the fuck that is. But like Addict by Dior smells like nothing else I have ever experienced. It's got these weird notes of like pepper with like baby powder and like a little bit of citrus. Like, it is amazing. I absolutely love it. My other one, which is the one that Angie always teases me about, is I love Chanel No. 5. I think it's classic and elegant, and it just smells like a luxurious experience. Like, there's something... It does have that kind of old lady, but not just any old lady. Like, the old lady with, like, the perfectly coiffed silver hair, like an old white lady. Like this. She would have hair like this. And she would have like a fur stole before PETA was throwing paint on people. And it's just very, like, it speaks of the 50s. I love Marilyn Monroe. And, you know, that's a quote that's attributed to her where a reporter was being kind of cheeky and asked her, "What do you wear to bed?" And she kind of gave it right back to him, and she said Chanel No. 5. And I love that. I think it's amazing. And I like to put it on strong. I like to smell. I know. So people with sensitivities, I'm sorry. I'll try not to be too smelly around you too often, but I love to smell like a French whore. I just love it. Question number 11 is, what is your favorite holiday? I mean, come on now. How could I answer anything except for Queer Christmas, which is Halloween? The high holy day. That is my absolute favorite holiday. I love Halloween. I have had some pretty fantastic Halloween costumes over the years. I put a lot of time and effort into it. I was Pizzazz from the Misfits one year. I had a really fantastic strawberry shortcake that won me a trip to Vegas that I ended up not being able to take. I had an Ursula costume that a friend of mine and I made together. She made this like bubble skirt, and I made these kind of tube tentacles and sewed it onto the bubble skirt so that my legs were still bare, and then I had these tentacles that were up on the skirt, and it was a little bit kind of sexy and fun, and I love it. I love Halloween. I love dressing up. I love all the spooky stuff. Question number 12. Have you graduated high school? A million years ago. I barely remember it, but yes, I did. I went to Bowbells High School, home of the Eskimos, and I graduated in 1996. Don't ask. Don't do the math. Fuck you. Don't do the math. Don't worry about it. I'm as old as I tell you I am. Question number 13 is, have you been out of the country and how many times? Yes, I have been out of the country. So I grew up in Bowbells, North Dakota, as I mentioned, and that is a little town 14 miles from Saskatchewan. And this was pre 9/11. So we used to go up to Canada all the time in the summer. There was a little kind of lake resort called Kenosi Lake, and they had a water slide park, and we would go up and stay at, my aunt and uncle had a friend who had a cabin, and so we would go up and stay there and go to the lake and go to the water slide park, and they had mini golf and all kinds of stuff. So we went up there all the time. I also now in Grand Forks live pretty close to Winnipeg. I'm about 2 hours away from Winnipeg. And so I haven't been up there in a few years now, but I used to go up at least a couple times a year up to Winnipeg. But other places that I've been, the only place that I've been outside of work travel is in 5th grade. I went down and spent Christmas at my aunt and uncle's in Phoenix. And we took a quick across-the-border trip to Nogales, Mexico. And that, of course, way pre-9/11 and all that kind of stuff, so the borders. It was super easy to just take a day trip, hop across the border, do the touristy things, and then come back. Now, for work, I have had the opportunity to do a little bit of international travel, which I feel very blessed for. And I have been to Cebu, Philippines. I spent a couple weeks there, which was amazing and wonderful. And I swam with whale sharks, and they're delightful. And sometimes they just run into you and knock you out of the way in the water. It's fabulous. And I've taken 2-week-long trips to Costa Rica. And I feel like there was one other place. Oh, I got to go to Cork, Ireland. That was amazing. And that trip was only a week, and I was a little sad. And I've switched jobs now, so there's not really any reason for me to go back to Cork. But that's on my list to maybe do a return trip sometime as personal travel, because I really just loved Ireland. It was beautiful. And so those were trips that I was able to take through my job. I did have a couple of close calls that I'm a little bit sad about. I was supposed to go to Barcelona, which would have been amazing, and also India. I almost got to go on like a 4-week trip to India, which I think India would be amazing and like life-changing to go to. And the scheduling didn't work out. Question number 14, can you speak any other languages? No. I have taken some other language classes, but I don't actually speak. I was not too bad at speaking. I was pretty good at like the reading and the writing, but listening, the speaking part of it, it was just my brain wasn't able to process it fast enough, so I had a little trouble. I did take 2 years of German in high school, and I think that they said that the program that we took, a year of high school German, was basically equivalent to a semester of college German. So it was basically equivalent to taking a 101 and a 102. And then when I went to college, I switched gears and I was all like angsty, and I thought that French would just be romantic, and I had this French friend named Sophie who was just like so dry-witted and acerbic and would like smoke cigarettes and judge people. And so I was like, I want to learn French. So I took a semester of French, and I was terrible at French. Like that, I was really bad at French because, number one, I'm not able to listen fast enough for the speaking to like translate and understand it, which is a problem in German. It's really a problem in French because they speak faster and they just run shit together. Like, it's just, if they decide that, like, oh, that word ends with a vowel, then just run it together with the next 6 words. Like, it was just too much. It was crazy. And the other thing that I did, my instructor would sometimes give me a weird face, and what would happen is that I would start to remember the word in German. So if I wanted to say something, but we hadn't learned one of the words in the sentence yet, if I remembered the German word, I would just throw it in, and it just came naturally. Like, I couldn't do German when I was actually in the German class, but the one that I remember was, we didn't learn avec, which is with, until like chapter 4. And so in one of the earlier chapters, I was trying to use the vocabulary, and I wanted to say that somebody was doing something with me, and so I said mit moi, which is, mit is with in German, and then moi is me in French. And so I just kind of mixed them together. So every once in a while I would throw in a German word and not even realize I was doing it. And I would see my professor kind of like confused. And so I have had some experience with languages, and I'm really interested in inclusion and accessibility. So I'm very interested in learning American Sign Language, but we'll see. Question number 15, how many siblings do you have? I have 1 sibling. I have an older brother who is married and has 2 adorable boys who are my nephews. And they're getting to that age now where if they ever did watch this video, where if my brother did let him watch my videos, he's probably a bad parent, but if they heard me call them adorable, they would probably be disgusted because they're getting to that like teen age. I think one of them's almost a teenager. I can't keep track. Question number 16 is, what is your favorite store? The internet? I love that the internet allows me to do so much shopping and find the kinds of things I'm looking for without going out into the public. I mean, when this whole quarantine thing happened, let me tell you, I've been training for years. I don't like people. I don't like public places. And so I already do a lot of, especially because a lot of what I spend my disposable income on is makeup. And a lot of the like indie brands, it's hard to find, especially in North Dakota. We don't have a freestanding Sephora in the state of North Dakota. The only Sephoras we have are in JCPenney's, which, as we know, are in trouble. We do have some Ultas, but like Grand Forks doesn't have its own Ulta. I can only get to Ulta when I'm in Fargo or Bismarck or Minot. So I like the internet. I like being able to find things. Now, when I was traveling a lot for work, I spent a lot of time in both Seattle and Phoenix, Arizona. And so there are some like independent stores. I'm not like a big like fangirl for any chain stores. Like, there are some that I shop at, they're fine, but I'm more interested in places where you can find unique, kind of interesting stuff. And so in Seattle, there's a couple places that I love. I love Doghouse Leathers. They are fantastic. It's a little bit naughty. I love Doghouse Leathers. I also like this little boutique, No Parking on Pike, which, if anybody remembers, when Donald Trump, either during the first election or after he was elected, there were those naked Donald Trump statues that showed up in a few different cities, and one of them was Seattle. No Parking on Pike is the store that has that naked Donald Trump statue. And so they have a bunch of fabulous vintage stuff. I've gotten some great jewelry pieces there. I make jewelry, and so I found some pendants that I've repurposed, and really beautiful boutique. When I go to Phoenix, one place I found that I really love, again, because I make jewelry, is this place called Bernie's Beads, which is in Gilbert or Mesa, which is one of the littler kind of suburbs around Phoenix proper. And where I worked was actually in Tempe. And so Gilbert and Mesa are kind of bordered up on them. I forget all the geography of like which direction you go, but I think it was east. They had fantastic crystal stone beads. Ugh. It was just wonderful going in there because I like making all kinds of jewelry, but I especially love stone crystal pieces. So Bernie's Beads in Gilbert, Arizona, or Mesa, whichever one it is. And then Doghouse Leathers, No Parking on Pike. Those are probably my favorite stores. Oh, and also I just love TJ Maxx because I love a good deal. I have so much stuff that I was not willing to pay for at full price, but when it came to TJ Maxx, I was like, I'll give that a try. Question number 17 is, what is your favorite restaurant? My favorite restaurant in the entire world, in Seattle on Pike Street, the Dawat Bar and Grill. I think it's Daawat. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. It's Indian food, and it is just... The sad thing is I feel like it's almost ruined other Indian restaurants for me, because every time I go and get the chicken tikka masala, I eat it, and it's good, but I'm always like, it's just not Dawat. Like, it's just not Dawat. And I don't know what they do with their rice. Their basmati rice, I could order and just eat the rice. Like, it's so good. The samosas, oh, it's so good. I've been there so often. So like I said, when I was traveling for work, I spent a lot of time in Seattle. And it got to the point where there are certain places in Seattle where they just think I live in Seattle because they saw me often enough that they just assumed I was a local. And Dawat is one of them, is that I would see them fairly often. And every once in a while, the owner would like send over a dessert at the end of my meal because he had seen me like 4 times in a 2-week period. And so I just absolutely love it. It's the best place in the world. Question number 18, did you like school? Yeah, I went to a small town school. It was Bowbells High School, which was also Bowbells Junior High, which was also Bowbells Elementary. We had K through 12 all in the same building. When I graduated, I think there was about 130 students in those grades, K through 12. We had 21 or 22 in my graduating class. I think we had 21, and people were always pissed because the entire high school, the year that I graduated, was only 42 people. So we were like half. So as long as we could get our shit together and agree, we could like outvote anybody. We only needed 1 vote on our side from any other class, and we would get our way. So people were always mad. Because the class below us was only, I think, there were 5 people who were from the area. And then when I was a senior, they brought in 2 foreign exchange students. And traditionally, the juniors decorate for the prom. And we used to joke that they brought in 2 foreign exchange students so they would have enough labor to do the prom. We had a really small school. Everybody kind of knew each other. That's kind of small town life. I liked school. I liked my English classes. There was a lot of it. It wasn't hard. It wasn't taxing. We weren't a very rigorous school. If you wanted to learn things, you kind of could, but you were a little bit on your own. With the exception of my English teacher, which I think I was already prone to liking books and English classes already, but she actually was one of the teachers that actually had real standards for the students. I mean, every other class, we all just passed the homework around. I mean, what are they going to do? Come back like 30 years later and take away my diploma? I don't think so. Fuck you. Because really, even when you do that, I know people are appalled or whatever, but it's like with the homework doesn't matter so much. When you get into the test, you either know it or you don't. So like, yeah, with the homework and the worksheets and all that busy work, we just didn't give a shit. So, but that also meant that you had a lot of extra time for doing the things you did like. So for me, it was reading and that kind of stuff. And in college, I loved my college classes. That's kind of a lottery dream. Like if I ever won the lottery or whatever and suddenly came into a bunch of money, I would love to just take classes at whether they're college classes or like community classes and just keep learning things. Like I would love to just keep learning. And that's what I like about my job right now is that we have a corporate membership to LinkedIn Learning, which used to be lynda.com. And so actually some of the video editing that I've been learning about has been through those courses. And so we use them for our own professional development. And I also have the opportunity to use them to learn things. They don't care if you use them for things that you're learning for your own benefit as well. They want you building your skills and learning and developing and growing. So I think it's great. Stay in school, kids! All right, favorite YouTuber. I would have to say that in the beauty space, because that's what I watch the most often, I love Teresa Is Dead. I'm a fellow garbage person. I love Teresa Is Dead so much. I also watch a lot of compilations from 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, which is like a British comedy / game show. I also have really been into Simply Podlogical. I don't like video podcasts. I don't. Like, the minute one of those starts, I fucking hate it. But there's something about Christine and Ben. They're just soothing. The other day, I was just like having a rough day. I mean, the world's on fire. We all have rough days. And I just was having some like anxiety. And for some reason, they have... Because the smart thing is I think I get intimidated when a video is an hour and 15 minutes. But they also have kind of a side channel that goes along with it called Simply Podlogical Highlights, where they're little like 3 to 7 minute chunks. I think there's so much drama and chaos and everything in the world right now that Ben and Christine are like two of the most level-headed people in the world. And so you hear them talk about things and they just like break some shit down. Like they don't get caught up in the drama. They're just like, here's what we think. And they're also very respectful of people. Like, we understand some people really like drama channels or whatever it is. They're like, if you like that, like, and you know, but not in the usual YouTube-y disclaimer-y kind of way. Oh, and Jen Loves Reviews. I also love Jen Loves Reviews. I always have to check in on what the chat is going to be on Sundays. And with the What's Up and Makeup that she does, I love to catch the headlines. I sometimes don't stay around for the actual, like, product reports, unless I just am in a shopping mood and want to see what's coming out. But I like to see the headlines and see what's going on, because I think she does a really good job of presenting good quality factual information. She just is so well-intentioned. She just seems so nice. I like her channel a lot as well. Question number 20 is, what is your favorite movie? So I'll give you my top 3, because I think these 3 together say a lot about me, actually. So my number 3 spot is Young Adult with Charlize Theron. I love that movie. It's about this woman who is a young adult author, and she's still kind of hung up on her high school boyfriend. And there's a reason why that you find out later. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but she goes back home because he's having a baby, or he just had a baby, and she gets a baby announcement. And so she thinks that that means that he's still in love with her, and this is like a cry for help. And she's a little bit odd, and so she goes back and is trying to insert herself back into his life, and she meets up with a couple of people that she knew from high school, and it's just really interesting to see how the story progresses. And there's a scene at the end, the kind of big climax, there's this fight at a party. And so the party is kind of a baptism naming ceremony kind of thing for his daughter. And she gets into this fight with his wife. And that scene is so brilliantly done. It's devastating. I feel like I'm watching a legitimate psychological breakdown in progress. Like, Charlize Theron should have gotten an Oscar for that movie. Like, it just is so well done and so in character, and I love it. My second favorite movie is All About Eve with Bette Davis and what is her name? And Anne Baxter, and Celeste Holm is in it, and it's just wonderful. I love a good classic movie, and it also has a cameo from Marilyn Monroe, who I love, and that is part of my number 1 is Gentlemen Prefer Blondes with Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell. And of course, it's got the famous song Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, that is probably the most famous imagery of Marilyn Monroe in the pink dress surrounded by the men with the diamonds. Madonna used it as inspiration for her Material Girl video. Just part of our culture. It's one of those images of Marilyn that's very prevalent. So even if you haven't ever seen the movie, if you saw her in that dress, you would recognize it, because it's just one of those things that's part of our pop culture. So I absolutely love that movie. I think it's very interesting. I think it has an interesting place in queer cinema. That may be a video that comes out in the future where we talk a little bit about some of those interesting older films that have little queer nuggets in them. But that's my number 1, is Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. Question number 21 is, what is your favorite TV show? And I have a lot of TV shows that I like, a lot that I watch. I am obsessed with the new She-Ra. The new She-Ra is so good. If you need a blueprint for how inclusivity and representation should be done, watch all 5 seasons of She-Ra. It is phenomenal. It is so good. I mean that in a way of, like, there's just so much stuff that's in it but it's not a big deal. They have a non-binary character, and it's not like they ever had to do the ABC after-school special bullshit where they're like, this person is non-binary, and they prefer they-them pronouns, and this is what it means, and this is how to help you be comfortable, and blah, 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 blah. No, the person just appears in the show, and people just start using they-them pronouns and just model good behavior. And the characters, they have different skin colors and body types, and there's same-sex relationships and opposite-sex relationships, and it's never a big deal. It's just the way the world is. It's one of the things that they did because the series has this sort of fantasy/sci-fi basis. They just said, we're going to create a world, and in this world, people aren't freaking out about, oh, you're this color, you're that color. And so it's this wonderful... All of those things don't become the point. They're just there. And nobody's valued more or less because of how they look. They have fat characters. And season 5 will blow your mind. If you're a purist and you like the 80s She-Ra, it's probably going to piss you off a little bit, but I don't care. It's brilliant. It is brilliant. I was hoping, because 2 of the princesses from the original series, Natasha, who was one of the rarest She-Ra dolls, because she was kind of put out right before She-Ra sort of folded, and she was the only black doll in the line. But Natasha and Spinnerella are 2 characters that they portray as this lesbian couple, but they don't really get featured in the first 4 seasons very much. Like, they're there, and they're part of what they call the Princess Council, and all the time in those first 4 seasons, I was like, are we ever going to get more of Natasha and Spinnerella? Like, what's going on? Are we going to get more of them? Season 5, every wish that I could have asked for happens in that season. It is so good, and it's beautiful, and it's never at a point where it's inappropriate for children, but it's also got so much stuff that is rich and engaging for adults. The last season even takes on elements of horror in really interesting ways, like the idea of paranoia, and so things like Invasion of the Body Snatchers or Rosemary's Baby. There's elements of that are built in that are really wonderful. So it's kind of this genre bending. It is a blueprint for how to do representation well. Obsessed. Watch it. Question number 22, PC or Mac? PC all day long. I love it. I'm a PC. Macs confuse the hell out of me. I just recently switched teams for my job, and I'm going to have to learn a Mac, and it freaks me out. I don't really... The interface is just oddball for me, so PC all day. Which leads into question number 23. What phone do you have? I am not super techie, so I am still rocking a Samsung Galaxy S6. And in fact, before that I had an S5, and I wish I still had an S5. When I replace this S6, I'm probably going to get an S5 again. Because the S6, I don't know how that was an upgrade. They took away a spot for an SD card, so you can't have an SD card. It's bananas. It's so stupid. But it's simple. It works for me. I'm always tempted by all the cool kids who have their iPhones, and I know that they're like... Portrait mode for photos is really fantastic, and I know they take amazing videos, and so many people just record videos. I'm on an actual camera, and it's nowhere near the quality of some of these iPhone videos, but it's too much, it's too expensive, it's too material. I can't bring myself $1,000 or whatever it is. Think of how much makeup I could buy for that money. Like, how many palettes could I buy with the cost of an iPhone 11? No. And question number 24 is, how tall are you? Without heels, I'm 6'2". I'm a biggin. As Teresa's Dead would say, I'm a thicker milkshake. And I'm also very, very tall. Alright, well that is the About Me tag, which was inspired by Glam by Shan. If you like this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you would like to follow along with my future videos, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon for notifications of future uploads. If you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate between videos, all of my social media will be linked up in the description box, as well as a link to my website, The World of Champagne, at janessaj.com. Thanks for watching, and until I see you again, bye.
You're recording.
Okay. Thanks for making sure you got that little gem on camera.
You're welcome. Belches for you.
All the belches. This is a little supplementary video, so hopefully you're coming here from my intro video that I filmed a little while ago. This is all happening in sequence. I don't know why I said that. Okay.
Still recording.
I know. I'm gathering my thoughts.
They're all over the place.
And so we're going to go with it. It's great. Angie loves it. She's the biggest fan of this wig.
It's the best wig ever.
She requested it. She said, you have to wear that wig for this video.
Mm-hmm. I hate this wig.
Madonna in like the early 2000s, and it was not too long after Lisa Left Eye Lopez died.
Okay.
Where she put out the album American Life. And the first single, American Life, she has this weird section where she raps. Mm-hmm. And I just remember thinking, I was like, Madonna, just because Left Eye died doesn't mean there's an opening in TLC. Like, you need to stop. And then Glynis would be the other name for the other little girl. Anything else you need to kick the camera about?
No, but I gotta stop it because the battery's gonna die. We're going.
We're going? You can see the gears turning. People with sensitivities, I'm sorry. I try not to be smelly around you as much as I stop breathing. Apparently I've
did you spray some Chanel No. 5 around? Is that what happened? Gagging on it?
Yeah.
You see that?
Good job. Job. Next. A couple of semesters of German, I think, in college. Do I remember what I took? No. Let's turn that over. Was equivalent to one semester of college German. So basically like a 101 and a 102 class. Sorry, I'm knocking shit over on my table.
Okay, you're recording again.
Okay.
Okay.
What are you doing? Jumping
Doesn't
around.
matter.
When I travel, sexy. So sexy.
I like Ross, but I think you get, we'll say, better quality at TJ Maxx.
Ross looks like a thrift store to me. Like, I think in my brain,
Oh, it's so spread out.
I just go in there and and even like just the fixtures and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and I get that that's their concept.
Yeah.
Is it's like, we're not going to put a ton of money into fixtures and all this like decorating and stuff.
Yeah.
But then it just looks like a thrift store. I generally like school. I went to a little town school. Little town school. I don't know why that got so hillbilly all of a sudden. Little town school. It was a one-room schoolhouse, except it had more than one room.
Oh, all of a sudden it zoomed in. Oh, it zoomed out. I don't know what's going on. How many questions do you have? Just 20?
24. This is going to be a longer one than I thought. I thought it would just be a quick little video, but then I've always got stories for all of these.
Well, you don't need to tell all your stories. I mean, edit. You can learn to edit.
Yeah. Pretty.
Fuzzy.
I'm not super techie, so I am still rocking a Gamsung. A Gamsung? I didn't mind the phone. I just hated that you couldn't really get the apps you wanted. There was a way to, I forget what they call it, like side loading or something, where you could kind of like bootleg apps on there. But I did that once with Grindr because I'm a slut.
Yeah, but yeah.
I would like another soda pop, please.
What soda pop would you like?
I would like a mellow yellow zero.
A mellow yellow zero.
Like on my mellow yellow. I don't know why I'm not an international singing star.
You know,
I also at one point got suckered into a Motorola Razr. That was legitimately the worst phone I ever owned. It was terrible. But it was pink. I liked that. I'm a biggin.
At the end.
No, I have to do the outro.
ooh! Well, I wouldn't do it.
If you'd like to keep up with all of my videos, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification for All right, well, that is the About Me tag. I get caught up. All of my social media will be what? What are you doing?
Oh, no, I was going to press stop, but you had to pause.
That's
so that was
I'm
me
going to break between so that
stopping.
I can, like, so that I can have it. I thought you were doing a Beyonce move or some shit like that. Like,
this is my wrap it up. Wrap it up.
I know. It was like the wrap it up, except there was a fist. I was
no,
like,
that was my hand
Why
going
are we
up,
fisting all
and
of
then
a
a
sudden?
stop. Well, that's what she's doing.
That's
so
what
I
she's
guess
doing.
that's the theme of the.
We like it.
Coming up towards
All right.
you.